Welcome to the Heart of CIRS podcast. I'm your hostess, Melanie Pensak, here to share heartfelt conversations with folks recovering from CIRS and with those special people serving the CIRS community. The podcast was created to help bring awareness to the physical, emotional, and mental experiences of folks navigating CIRS day to day. The world needs to know what CIRS folks go through for deeper empathy and understanding. Through stories and vulnerability, we can help the world understand the winding journey of CIRS recovery. Thank you for being here to open your mind and to open your heart. Well, here we are, season 4 of the Heart of CIRS podcast. I had no idea that when I started this, it would continue to grow. And I'm really excited to have another season of content to bring to you that is all about really important areas of CIRS recovery. I want to start off by saying first, how grateful I am for those who are listening to the podcast around the globe. We have almost 5,000 downloads at this point. And for a podcast that is audio, that is not video, that is about CIRS, it is really exciting to see that there are nearly 5,000 downloads on this particular topic from all over the place. If the data is correct from Buzzsprout, we have people listening to this podcast from countries all around the world. I am very grateful for those who are finding the heartfelt conversations to be of value. When people message me or leave a comment that they were touched by an episode or that it helped them in some way, it really does help to keep me going. So thank you for that. I'm so happy that this podcast is fitting a need for a place to discuss some of the emotional, mental, spiritual pieces of a CIRS recovery. I'm glad people feel like they can share, that it is of benefit in that sense for them. And I appreciate the feedback that the content around the scientific information from our professionals is very much presented in a way that is digestible for those who are trying to process a very complicated illness. At the time of this recording, I'm realizing that it has been 3 years of recovering from CIRS. And that seems just so unbelievable because when I started this process, I thought it would go much quicker. But as many people realize who are going through the CIRS recovery process, finding the proper housing and treating underlying issues that are impacting the ability to overcome CIRS is vital for full health and vitality. For me, if you've been listening to the podcast over the seasons now, you'll hear that for me, it started out with a vaccine injury, which led to immunoreactivity to my environment, including actinomyces, bacteria on the skin, endotoxins, which then led to a discovery of having underlying tick-borne co-infections. And now I'm learning there's even another layer to this with persistent actinomyces showing up in the nasal cavity. And some people in the CIRS community, particularly Christian Navarro-Torres, feel that this actinos in the sinuses is perpetuating CIRS. And so here I am 3 years later, really focusing now on actinomycetes in the nose and actinos on the skin, and really feeling confident that I am on the tail end of things. For a long time in the CIRS recovery process, it just felt like I was swimming in a soup and going around and around in circles. But there has recently been some improved tolerance of supportive supplements and new therapies for treating actinos in the nose and on the skin. And so that shows me that my body is becoming more resilient. If I think back to where I was 4 years ago when all of this started in 2021, I'm amazed actually at how well I am doing. I just moved apartments and couldn't believe that I was physically able to lift boxes, to pack things, to carry things back and forth multiple times across multiple days. So even though there are still pieces of my SIRS recovery to clean up and strength to regain in my physical body, it was really clear to me how much, even in the last year after treating the co-infections, how I have strengthened my body and how it's becoming tolerant of much more activity. My mind is good. My mind is clear. I feel like I can work online in better capacities. And it's interesting. This year feels really much about integration back into life. I have been basically in isolation, living like a hermit for 4 years. And I don't say that for anyone to feel bad for me. In some ways, it's interesting. I always wanted the experience of a 3-year retreat that meditation teachers and practitioners can go on to deepen their practice, to deepen their connection with spirit, to deepen their presence and their wisdom and compassion. And even though I didn't have that experience at a retreat center, I feel like the SIRS experience really is representative of that in my own life, where I was essentially on, it's been a 4-year retreat at this point. And at the end of a meditation retreat, there's always this time of integration, connecting to people again, connecting to the outside world when you're in a little bubble of safety and peace and serenity or deep spiritual work. There is a process of coming back into everyday life. And I feel like that's where I am this year, where I am beginning to really think about connecting with people again and being outside and doing things that are outside of SIRS related activities. And so it feels good to know that I'm on the tail end of things. And I have full confidence that this year is going to be the year that things really solidify and improve on a physical and functional level. If you have any questions about actinos in the nose, if that's something that feels a little surprising or shocking, it is very much a new hypothesis and new information. And so Dr. Christian Navarro-Torres would be the best person to speak to about that if you feel like you are not moving forward in the protocol or having high TGF-beta 1 spikes or having a hard time moving forward with actinos. I really encourage you to reach out to him to see if that is a part of your profile. This year has been an exciting year for meditation for SIRS, and I wanted to use this time in season 4 to share about all of the things that have changed and progressed and the offerings that I now have for the SIRS community, because people don't always realize the different options that there are to work with me or to work in community in the specialties that I am addressing within the SIRS community. So let's start with the Mindfully Navigating SIRS Recovery 6-week course. This particular course is appropriate for people who are on the Shoemaker recovery path and might be brand new to mindfulness meditation, or they're experienced meditators and they want to use mindfulness and meditation as a tool to help process and navigate the challenges of recovery in a sense of working with their mental habits, their thoughts, handling and processing challenging emotions, and really learning how to be kinder and self-compassionate towards themselves as they go through the recovery process. So this course is for those ideally who are on step 3 of the Shoemaker protocol. So they're out of exposure, on binders, passing the VCS, treating MARCONs, or beyond. Or maybe you're just passing the VCS test at this point. But it's really to help you begin to deal with all of the things that you have just gone through in leading up to SIRS and a SIRS diagnosis from a nervous system and limbic system perspective. So in the SIRS summit that I was a part of at the end of 2024 in December, I did a whole talk on mindfulness and meditation and how it is a very strong support for people from a nervous system perspective and from a limbic system perspective. So we hear a lot about limbic system retraining, and we need to have mindfulness and presence and groundedness to be able to go through that type of work. Mindfulness meditation helps with the reconnecting of the limbic system to the prefrontal cortex, working on emotional stability, emotional regulation, helping with attention, helping make new neuronal pathways for establishing memories and to be able to get through the day easier and to do cognitive tasks. So I have created this course and really encourage people to do it at step 3 of the protocol, because at that point, you might be a little bit more regulated and grounded from a sense that you're removing more toxins from your body with the binders in clean enough housing. And before that, it's just very busy and chaotic and not always the greatest time. But this 6-week course, I run several times a year, and I am collecting research on this particular course. And the preliminary pilot study that I did in fall of 2020 showed positive results for CIRS patients at step 3 of the protocol. I want to share a little bit more about those results. So one of the tools that I used was the Warwick-Edinburgh Mental Wellbeing Scale. And this is where people will report how they're feeling before the course and after the course. And they're paying attention to things like, I've been feeling relaxed. I've been feeling good about myself. I've been interested in new things. I've been feeling close to other people. I've been thinking clearly. I've been dealing with problems well. When CIRS patients at step 3 or passing VCS took this course, they showed a 33% increase in their pre-score to their post-score in reported feelings of well-being. So this shows that during this 6-week period, their well-being improved. Another scale that I used was a distress tolerance scale. And this looks at people's ability to be able to be with and handle distress. Some of the phrases that they had to rate themselves on were, my feelings of distress are so intense that they take over. I can tolerate being distressed or upset as well as most other people. My feelings of distress or being upset are not acceptable. I'm ashamed of myself when I feel distressed. And when people took this 6-week mindfulness course, there was a 44% increase in pre-score to post-score in their reported ability to tolerate distress. So people that are going through the Mindfully Navigating CIRS recovery class are showing improved well-being, showing that they can handle the stress of a CIRS diagnosis and recovery better. And participants really liked that they were able to increase their awareness of thoughts and feelings, and really practicing and learning these skills in community and being accountable every week by showing up to class to make some new habits. People also showed an improvement in their mindfulness skills. So people were able to observe what was happening in their body, thoughts and emotions better, describe those events better. They were acting with awareness with improved abilities and learning to be kinder and act without judgment. People shared some testimonials, and I just want to share a couple of them because they are really sweet. Practicing mindfulness has changed the way I look at life. It's helped me realize even when things are very wrong, I can be more intentional with my thoughts, feelings, and approach. Knowing I have tools to improve my state when I'm dysregulated is a game changer for me. This mindful meditation course allowed me to experience another level of healing. There are many types of meditation, and Melanie allowed me to experience many of them with guided practice. With all the expenses we experience in our CIRS journey, this course was affordable and worthwhile. This course was a huge relief for me. After the outstanding guided meditations, I felt less tense, less fatigue, more focus, more self-compassion, and more optimism. I would love to collect more research on this particular course with more CIRS patients. And so if this is something that speaks to you, where you want to learn how to calm your nervous system, you want to work on your limbic system, work on your emotional regulation, and doing it with a teacher who understands CIRS, who's gone through it, and is adapting the mindfulness practices for a CIRS population, then I highly recommend that you sign up for the wait list for a future course. I want to have many participants to make the pilot study results even more valid for our CIRS community, because it is so essential that we have options for people when it comes to their mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So that's very exciting that we had those pilot study results be so positive. I'm very excited for everybody. And another offering that has been an absolute passion project and joy to be a part of is the grief course that I've created for CIRS patients. So I last year completed the Grief Educator training program with David Kessler, and then created this course around navigating grief. And it's funny, David Kessler always talks about how grief is something you don't choose, it chooses you. And I think that that's so accurate. I talk about this in season 3 of the podcast, talking about grief, but I've always been that person that people come to when they need to talk about the things that they're grieving in their lives. And this particular course is a 4-week course. So it's called Honoring Loss and Transforming Grief in CIRS Recovery. And people come together for an hour each week. And it's really designed for people with CIRS who are in clean housing, on binders, and ready to work on the emotional side of grief. There's grounding practices, teachings, and interactive activities to help tune into, feel, and transform the grief. It's really about moving the grief through. So you learn intellectually about some of the different forms of grief and how it shows up in the body, but then you start to work on feeling it and moving it through with things like art and music, writing, nature, somatic movements, and rituals. So these are really important to help us process sometimes the deeper feelings that we can't always put words to. And I love teaching this course. People find it very valuable. Some of the feedback from this course helped me understand what I was feeling. It was a great step up and forward on my healing journey. I've been sad and grieving for years. I didn't realize how much of my grief stemmed from losses caused by CIRS. I appreciated learning how to move grief rather than letting it stagnate and slow down my healing journey. If this is something that speaks to you, if you are noticing the sadness, the anger, the frustration, the jealousy, the bitterness that shows up as you go through a CIRS recovery, most likely underneath all of that is grief that needs to be seen and witnessed and heard. And I highly recommend signing up for this course, which I run several times a year. If you go to my website, again, melaniepensak.com events, you will see that there's a wait list for another course that will be coming up in 2025 in June. So these have been really special to teach. They've been really much a joy to teach. I love teaching mindfulness and meditation to this group and seeing people grow and helping people move through the grief that they're experiencing. Because when you move through the grief, it opens up space then for the rest of your life to come in, for some peace, contentment, relationship, and feelings of happiness. They can show up in your life. It's really important to explore grief with people that understand the CIRS experience very intimately. If you don't feel like courses are for you, but you do want to be held accountable in a meditation practice to ground and calm your nervous system every week and work on the foundations of mindfulness. So embodiment, learning how to be in your body again, learning how to be with thoughts, emotions, feelings, how to cultivate kindness and compassion for yourself. All of these mindfulness tools we work on together in the Practice Portal Meditation for CIRS community. I used to run a weekly class on its own, but it has grown into a membership program. And this particular membership program, we do a class on Monday nights, a live class, and then there is a recording that you get of the meditation to practice throughout the week. There's time for reflection and questions. There are opportunities to practice other modalities that are really supportive for CIRS recovery. And so I bring in guests to teach Qigong, to provide opportunities for biofield tuning, opportunities to charge your battery and your energy level. There are opportunities to do breath work, and there are different special guests that come in to talk about brain health, emotional health, mental health. We've gotten into a lot of different interesting topics this year around finding safety and mindful money habits, as well as cultivating self-compassion and learning about trauma and attachment theory and how all of this interplays with a CIRS recovery. So if you're looking for a community or a space where you can practice meditation and it's not about all of the medical nitty-gritty or remediation talk, this is a place where it's just about supporting your nervous and limbic system, and it's specifically on the brain and emotional health part of the recovery process. So that is the practice portal, and it is meditation for CIRS. And there's a basic membership that's a monthly price. You can cancel it anytime or try it out for a month or two and see how it goes. And there is also a more elaborate membership called CIRS Premier, which has different offerings. What's cool is you also get the opportunity to hear success stories and to be reminded that good things are happening for people on the CIRS recovery path, because we don't always hear that so much. And there's also special podcast episodes that are exclusive that only members can hear in that portal. So if that's something that's interesting to you, I'd highly encourage you to sign up for the membership program as well. And then I am working with people individually, and I want to explain a little bit about what that looks like. I'm working with the CIRS community in several ways. I am a proficiency provider diplomat, which means I've taken a test to prove that I understand the illness very well. I have a background in health sciences, and so that was really important to me to be able to understand this illness, having not only lived it, but from a medical perspective. And so I am a screener, an identifier, and if people want to talk to me about, do I have CIRS? Could this be me? Is this a part of my profile? Is environmental illness something that I need to be concerned about? Do I need to consider actinomyces or endotoxins along with the mold? We can have a conversation in a mentoring call. So I do 30 and 45-minute mentoring calls that are more around the medical parts of the illness, helping you get screened, matching you with a physician. If you feel like you might have a tick-borne co-infection and you want to talk about that, we are able to do that in the mentoring calls. And then the other offering I have are emotional support calls. And those are more about, I need to just be seen and heard in the challenges I'm having. It's not psychotherapy, it's more me holding space so you can share what's on your heart. And for many people, they just need to be heard by somebody who understands the challenges of dealing with the family and the friends and the doctors. And they just sometimes need a space to unload. And so those support calls are about coming to talk about your feelings and grief and challenges, and less about the medical side of things. So I very much enjoyed meeting with people on both sides of the coin for the problem solving, the CIRS medical piece, and then also on the side of the emotional support. So both of those offerings can also be found on my calendar on my website. And of course, we have the podcast, and that is exciting. Every season, I think it's going to be my last season. I keep saying that, but every so often I have these ideas come through of different topics and people I want to bring on or share their stories. And so I'm really excited to just letting that unfold as it's meant to. It's been a lot of fun. I love being able to talk to people and highlight a lot of really wonderful people in the CIRS community that don't always get the same amount of airtime, and to remind you about the people that are overcoming CIRS and getting through it and the different resources that are now available. Even when I got diagnosed 3 years ago, the resources in terms of mental, emotional, spiritual support for this illness have grown tremendously. And I am really thrilled to see that and to be a part of that. Well, I'm glad we got through all of that shameless promoting. I get a lot of questions about the different offerings that I have now, and I thought it was important to put into one place lay out the courses that I have and the ways I work with people in community and individually. So there's a better understanding of how I can support you and be a part of your CIRS recovery. I'm honored to always talk to people and to hold space for them and their experience. And I'm really grateful for all of you for supporting the work and donating to the podcast and reaching out, because it makes a big difference and helps to keep my fire going and wanting to continue to support the community. So thank you. And now that we've gotten through the nitty-gritty, I just want to leave people with hope that you are going to get through this illness, and that the people that are in this community who understand the illness are detail-oriented, are data-driven, are determined to help you overcome, because they themselves have come so far or overcome the illness themselves. This field is ever evolving, this idea of environmental illness, but it always comes back to the genetic susceptibility and the inflammatory pathway that happens for those folks when they tip into CIRS, and working with the proper people to help you get through that and to overcome it is vitally important to save you money and to save you from traumatic experiences in the medical world. So if you are struggling, if you don't know what to do, please reach out to the people on this podcast, to me, to help get you set up with the right team to get you through the illness. We all need a team. I've needed multiple doctors at this point with different perspectives and specialties within the CIRS community to help get me where I am today. And so if you feel like you're stuck and you need to add something in, this is the time to consider that, and please reach out to me so we can talk about it to get you through. I can't believe from where I was 4 years ago that I would be where I am today. I was so close to death. I was literally in the experience of feeling my body shut down and the life force being sucked out of me. And here I am today, 4th season of the podcast, moving apartments, working at a much higher capacity, and coming through the storm and looking forward to the rest of my life. So please keep going. CIRS warriors, you are loved, you are supported, and I hope to connect with you soon. Please share this podcast with those that you think may be of benefit, and please pass along season 4 to anyone who might want to hear. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening and for your kind attention. To keep in touch, follow the Heart of CIRS podcast on Instagram. You can visit melaniepensak.com/the Heart of CIRS to donate. Your generosity helps to keep this podcast growing. May the awareness of CIRS spread far and wide, helping to change millions of lives for the better.